Imagine unlocking a secret that makes women naturally drawn to you without even trying. This isn't a pickup line, it's about a fundamental shift in your being. Learn why a man's purpose isn't just a passion, but a powerful, undeniable magnet for attraction. There is a quiet moment in every man's life when he begins to recognize that the world responds to him based on the direction he carries within himself. Not his appearance, not the smoothness of his words, not the force of his efforts, but the gravity of his path. You have seen this before, though perhaps you did not yet have the language for it. A man rooted in purpose does not need to chase attention, because his life already moves with momentum, and anything or anyone aligned with his direction will naturally move toward him. Meanwhile, the average man spends his days searching outward. He reaches, he chases, he seeks validation the way a thirsty man seeks water, believing that if he tries harder, gives more, or proves himself enough, he will be chosen. But the more he tries to be chosen, the more he communicates that he is not yet complete within himself. And attraction does not bloom where there is emotional hunger. It blooms where there is center, direction, and certainty. Women feel this long before words are spoken. A woman can sense when a man's attention is scattered, when he is willing to abandon himself for her approval, when he has made her the center of his emotional world without first establishing a world of his own. To her instincts, this does not feel romantic. It feels unstable. Because if a man will betray himself for her, he will one day betray her for something else. There is no anchor in him, no structure, no place for her to rest. But when you move with purpose, when your days are shaped by a mission that does not depend on her presence, you create something she cannot manufacture on her own: direction. And direction is what the feminine seeks. Not control, not dominance, but the feeling of being close to something that is moving somewhere meaningful. Your purpose is not a hobby you return to when life is quiet. It is the axis your life rotates around. When your purpose leads, everything else moves differently. Your pace, your voice, your decisions, your silence. You become less reactive, less frantic, less swayed by temporary emotion. There is a firmness in your steps, a steadiness in your breath, a stillness in your gaze. And she feels this before she understands it. It shows in the way you hold space instead of rushing to fill silence. It shows in the way you listen without needing to convince or persuade. It shows in the way your attention is earned, not given by default. Women are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to direction, and direction is born from purpose. So ask yourself, what do you wake up for? What drives you forward when no one is watching? What are you building that will outlast your impulses, your fears, your temporary desires? Because if the answer is nothing, then attention, affection, and attraction will always feel fragile, unstable, temporary. But if the answer is something real, something chosen, something sharpened over time, your presence becomes a foundation rather than a request. This is the first truth you must internalize. A woman does not chase the man who centers his life around her. She chases the man who already has a life, and invites her to witness it, not through words, not through promises, but through the way he moves even when no one is watching. Right now, there is a version of you that does not chase affection because he has already chosen a higher calling. A version of you that does not rush to prove himself because his work, his discipline, and his mission speak louder than any explanation ever could. There is a version of you who does not crumble when ignored, because he does not need to be seen to know that he is becoming something formidable. This version of you exists. You have felt him before, quietly, briefly, during moments of deep focus, moments of silence, moments when you remembered who you were before the world told you who to become. That presence within you is not lost. It is simply waiting to be prioritized. When you begin to live for something larger than approval, something larger than companionship, something larger than the temporary warmth of being desired, your entire energy shifts. You stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop performing, and your presence begins to pull instead of reach. This is the beginning of the magnetic effect. Not loud, not dramatic, but unmistakable. And she will feel it long before you speak. The moment you begin to prioritize your purpose, something subtle but unmistakable shifts in the way women respond to you. It is not about becoming distant or cold. It is about the emergence of inner direction. A woman can feel when a man lives from an inner axis rather than external validation. She senses the difference between a man who seeks admiration and a man who is simply becoming himself. Your purpose forms the spine of your presence. Without it, everything collapses inward. Most men never discover this. They move through life trying to perform desirable traits instead of cultivating a center. They read scripts, adopt postures, memorize lines, and imitate confidence. But imitation collapses under pressure. When challenge arrives, when desire enters the room, when emotion rises, he falters. His identity wavers because it is built on sand. But a man anchored in purpose breathes differently. His decisions carry weight. His silence feels intentional rather than anxious. Women recognize this instinctively. They are not looking for perfection. They are drawn to trajectory. They are watching to see whether your life is moving forward or whether you are drifting like so many others who never choose themselves. This is where the deeper psychology begins. A woman evaluates a man not by what he owns or says, but by what influences him. If the world can easily sway him, if emotion controls him, if desire derails him, she cannot trust him. Not because she requires control, but because she seeks stability within the dynamic landscape of her own feelings. A woman's emotional world is fluid. A man's purpose is meant to be the ground beneath it. This is not domination. This is interdependence through strength. When you stand firm in who you are becoming, she is free to feel, to express, to move, to unfold, because your presence does not shatter under the weight of emotion. You do not take her storms personally. You do not rush to fix or control. You hold, you observe, you respond with clarity rather than reaction. And in that moment, she feels safe in a way words can never create. This is where respect begins, not through assertiveness alone, but through internal durability. Now, understand this. When you commit to your purpose, you become less accessible. Not because you are avoiding connection, but because you are no longer available to be consumed by others' needs. Your time becomes structured. Your vision becomes prioritized. Your energy is allocated to something beyond instant gratification. And this creates a natural tension, the exact kind that deepens attraction. A woman feels drawn to what she cannot fully possess. Not because she wants control, but because mystery awakens curiosity. Curiosity deepens emotional investment, and emotional investment is where desire becomes meaningful. You are not withholding, you are simply living with direction. Yet here is the contradiction most men cannot hold. You must remain open-hearted without abandoning your path. You must remain warm without becoming compliant. You must remain loving without collapsing into need. A man who is capable of love without dependency is rare, and rarity is irresistible. Consider the difference. The average man fears losing her, so he prioritizes her above all else. The anchored man fears losing himself, so he prioritizes his trajectory. And because of that, women are drawn to him more deeply. This is not a tactic. This is alignment with natural psychological structure. Masculine energy moves outward toward vision, creation, legacy. Feminine energy moves inward toward connection, depth, emotional resonance. When you abandon your purpose for love, she loses attraction. When you pursue your purpose and allow love to complement it, she feels both admiration and longing. This is why your purpose cannot be a hobby. It cannot be something you visit occasionally. It must be something that shapes you, something that sharpens your thinking, strengthens your discipline, and defines your direction. When you are truly aligned, you do not chase pleasure, you do not chase approval, you do not chase women. You move, and the world responds. But understand this as well: once your purpose begins to come alive, you will face resistance. Not from her, but from yourself. There will be days where doubt whispers, days where comfort tempts, days where the old habits of seeking validation feel easier than growth. Purpose is not simply discovered, it is chosen repeatedly. And every time you choose your purpose over your ego, your identity deepens. Every time you choose discipline over escape, your presence strengthens. Every time you choose direction over distraction, your attraction becomes effortless. Because a woman does not fall in love with what you show her. She falls in love with the man you are becoming when no one is watching. And when she looks at you and sees a future written in the shape of your direction, desire becomes inevitable. Because you are not merely existing, you are becoming. You begin to recognize, perhaps not as an abstract idea, but as something that resonates through your entire being. Why women are drawn to a man whose life is anchored by purpose. Because it is not the result of distance, strategic silence, or emotional withholding, nor is it manufactured through carefully curated behaviors or forced mystique, but instead emerges from the natural gravitational pull of a man who has direction, internal clarity, and an unmistakable orientation towards something greater than momentary comfort or temporary desire. And this kind of direction radiates a presence that does not need to justify itself, explain itself, or compete for attention, because it simply is steady and unmistakable. When you look back at your past experiences, not with regret, but with an attentive, honest clarity, you can see that the moments where attraction weakened or connection slipped were the moments where you unconsciously abandoned your own center in order to hold on to someone else's approval, where you leaned forward rather than remaining grounded, where you hoped to be validated rather than moving from conviction. And in doing so, you unintentionally communicated that your identity was negotiable. A woman may appreciate affection, warmth, and vulnerability, but she cannot respect a man who surrenders the structure of his own life in exchange for emotional reassurance. A woman does not want to become the meaning in your life. She wants to align herself with a life that already has meaning. This understanding does not arrive with dramatic revelation, but with a slow, undeniable recognition that your path must come first. Not because you are prioritizing yourself over others in a selfish or dismissive way, but because personal direction is the foundation of masculine presence, and without it, attraction loses its polarity, relationships lose their vitality, and emotional connection collapses into codependence rather than deep resonance. Without purpose, you cannot lead. Without leadership, there is no magnetic tension. And without magnetic tension, there is no sustained desire, only proximity without passion. You are not attempting to become appealing. You are learning to embody a man no one forgets. Once you begin orienting your life around your purpose in a consistent, embodied, and disciplined way, your presence shifts in a manner that does not need verbal explanation or outward display. You start responding instead of reacting. You stop chasing emotional equilibrium through another person and instead cultivate internal steadiness. When a woman expresses frustration or moves through fluctuating emotional tides, you do not attempt to calm her through appeasement, performative reassurance, or self-abandonment. Because you understand that her emotional expression is not a threat to your identity, but an invitation to show the strength of it. Steadiness is what creates trust, and trust is what gives rise to admiration, and admiration is the soil in which desire grows. You are not performing confidence, you are becoming the man confidence arises from. Once this truth takes root, you recognize that love without respect becomes fragile, sentimental, and easily disrupted. Because genuine affection cannot deepen in the absence of trust, and trust cannot exist when a man continually betrays his own direction. This is why the real work does not begin in social contexts, in dating strategy, or in interactions with women, but in the silent negotiations you make with yourself during the most private and uncelebrated moments of your life. Purpose is not discovered through inspiration, it is shaped through discipline. Your character strengthens in the hours when no one acknowledges your effort, when progress is slow, when no validation is available to soothe the discomfort of growth. You wake earlier not to display discipline, but to meet yourself before the world has the chance to interrupt you. You refine your habits not because someone is watching, but because you respect the man you are becoming. You learn to sit in discomfort without seeking escape, and in doing so, you sharpen your emotional edges into something clean, grounded, and controlled. In this way, purpose becomes not merely a direction you move toward, but a structure of identity you live from. You stop asking for permission to be the man you want to become, and instead begin acting as though you already are him. And your life slowly reorganizes itself around that truth. Women sense this shift in ways that go beyond language, because what they feel is the emergence of a presence that is not seeking to be chosen, but is choosing itself. A woman does not need you to be invulnerable or untouched. She needs to feel that your life is moving forward, that your identity is self-sustaining, that your emotional world is not dependent on hers for stability. If you do not choose your values, the world will choose them for you. If you do not guard your inner direction, your emotional environment will begin shaping you instead of the other way around. Purpose steadies you, presence communicates that steadiness, direction carries you through uncertainty without losing yourself. The average man collapses into emotion, defining himself by whatever is happening around him. You learn to move through emotion with measured breath, holding your center intact, not rigidly, but intentionally, consistently, quietly, and with a depth of awareness that does not need to announce itself. There is no desperation in a man who knows who he is becoming. He moves forward, he keeps building, he stays aligned with his direction, he lets time reveal him. And as you move, the world begins to respond, not with dramatic celebration, but with a subtle shift in how others speak to you, look at you, and remember you. Respect begins to gather. Curiosity begins to stir. Desire begins to form, not as something you chase, but as something that naturally orbits your presence. A woman does not fall in love with the mask you wear to impress her. She falls in love with the man you build when no one is there to witness it. So you return to your work, you return to your discipline, you return to your direction, not to attract her, but to become a man who does not need to. And when you become him, she is drawn to you without effort.